Hello, I'm Chris, the Tabletop Fox, and welcome to my video on Halo Flashpoint, particularly the UNSC faction and reviewing their units and how they are in Season 1. In today's video, we're going to have a talk about Gunnery Sergeant Edward Buck, or the guy who drops in really angrily with a flamethrower as of recently. Buck is our ODST leader. He is the best of the batch that's come out and the legendary character to go along with them, unlike Dare, as we mentioned, who's not at ODST. So Buck is a very interesting unit, to say the least. He is the same points as a Deadeye base, being 48, and he is very similar initially to a Deadeye. So what I have with that is he has fast transition and a free up shoot stat. Unlike the Deadeye though, Buck has 2 weapons on his card, so he can use fast transition without the requirement of getting another weapon. The unfortunate part to it is neither as good as that DMR that the Deadeye has, with him having a assault rifle with range 5 and weight of fire 1, no other keywords, so just a worse MA40, and his other being a Magnum, which is only range 3, and all it has is optics. And though with that, it is still his better gun, because he can at least sometimes do quite a bit of damage with this, though without having any ear steel AP, it does struggle to get much done. However, in difference to the Deadeye, Buck has the ODST movement, armor and HP, being a 1-2 movement, 1 armor and 3 HP. So he's nowhere near as survivable as a Deadeye in the baseline. However, he does have something that brings it back up a bit. He has a 4-up save, which, with how it works on the elites, is an incredible thing to have. And it does help him quite a bit with survivability and not getting pinned by frags. What he also has that the Deadeye doesn't have is a 4-up fight stat, so he's quite good at melee. And he does come with a combat knife base, which is the ODST combat knife, which just has AP1, nothing else about it, but it's a decent serviceable weapon to have. Going more from the Deadeye, he also comes with 2 other keywords, that is Tactician 1, which is very nice to have, and Scout, which means if you want to give him a good long-range secondary weapon, if he comes in off the board edge, he gets the free crouch. So he can be a very good shooting platform, and in some cases a lot better than the Deadeye, but also in some cases worse, because of the fact that his second weapon is not going to be up to par of the Deadeye. As mentioned, he has Tactician, which is more seen as a nice to have and a bonus than actually something to plan around. In round 1 you'll have it, but with how Buck is, there's a good chance you'll never see that tac in use again for the rest of the game, which is when things are going well. If you're seeing it in use after that, then sometimes that means things aren't going well for you. Now, where does Buck's strength come from? It comes from Hot Drop. So, as we touched on in the ODST overview, Hot Drop is very strong, and it uses the range stat to determine the drop. On this case, Buck has a 3-up range stat, so again 2 successes out of 3 is very likely. I did a number crunch, I'm not 100% if it's fully correct, but when you incorporate crit 8s, comes out to about a 95% chance of success. So for the equivalent there, the fail a hot drop with Buck is the same as rolling a natural 1 in D&D on a D20, which is rare and actually quite fitting, because when you roll that natural 1 in this case, it is very bad. You lose a whole Buck activation, which with how much points he costs to kit out and such, is usually a third of your team in 200 points, so it's very bad. And it can't happen that much. Though it did happen to me twice in a row in a major tournament. So you should be able to rely on it, but be prepared for when it does fail and absolutely destroys your game plan. And that is the risk of Hot Drop. But what you get for that risk is an incredible tool piece for any team. And how I made a 3-man with 2 Mark 7s work so well at the Nottingham tournament. Because he is incredibly deadly when kitted out right, and he's also very versatile for objective play. So, what I chose with him weapon-wise is giving him a flamethrower. There's a lot of good options. Covenant Carbines, BR-75s are both really good weapons for him, but that's more at a range. Shotguns are a good choice, they're very strong. The reason I go with a flamethrower is it keeps everything in my control. Now, shotguns, you want to be getting that clear shot to be getting the best out of them. Problem with that is that means you need to land with a good shot on the opponent, so you're restricted to where you can land. You can't land in these really interesting spots. So what the flamethrower doesn't care for is anything really. It has 5 dice and it's always rolling 5 dice with 2 rerolls. Because camo doesn't affect it, you don't have to worry about clear shot, height. Having your guy in the cube doesn't affect it. It's going to affect your guy quite badly, but it's not going to affect your shooting of them. To add in, it has sticky, and with Buck rolling on 3 ups with 2 rerolls, it's almost a guarantee to get sticky off, which is really good into something like an elite. And it is an incredibly useful weapon. One of its biggest weaknesses being range 2 doesn't matter when you've got a guy who can drop in anywhere on the board right next to the enemy you want to shoot. That gives him this incredible deadly potential when he drops in with that flamethrower. And then we can combine that with him having fast transition, so he gets another gun off. Or in the case of what I like to run in with, spike grenade, plasma grenade, frag grenade. Preference towards spike and plasma, if you can get the points of plasma, because, again, 3 ups, he's a very good chance of getting sticky off. So you can drop in, flame 1 cube, throw a grenade into another cube, possibly kill both, or at least pin up the one you don't kill over there. Then if you get a shoot dice, you could flame another cube again. And then you run in with a grapple, and you can grapple in and go into melee with someone. And he does a good job with the melee. And the thing with the flamer as well, he's a 4-up save, so there's a good chance he doesn't take wounds from it. So it doesn't hurt his melee. And if he does take wounds, in truth, having him cycle and come back with all his bits and being able to hot drop again is a good thing for you. Again, why I mentioned having your tack from him after round 1 sometimes is a bad sign. So he's incredibly deadly. And then also, objective-wise, being able to drop onto an objective anywhere on the board. They can't spawn lock you out. Flag mode is incredible, and I have an incredible technique in Siege where you can get that flag moving forward with an ODST, which is hot dropping on the flag, thruster on the guy, move 2, put a grapple out and an advanced dice. You've moved that flag 4 towards your own side and such. Illusion can be the same if it's not covered. So he's an incredible unit, and he is really good. And I do see more people using him since the Nottingham tournament. However, you also see a lot of people not doing the best with him. And that's because he's an incredible unit, but he's not an easy unit. You can easily get the big drop and get loads of kills early on, maybe wiping the enemy team. But if you do it wrong, you can screw your whole game plan. Because as I mentioned, in 200 points, Buck is usually going to be a third of your list, or you're running lots of ODSTs, which means you're going to be very easy for them to rack up kill points against to counter it. He is about a third of your team, and if you're not getting the hot drops, it can really make him struggle with the flamethrower setup. But also, if you play him wrong, you can pretty much cost yourself the game, because if you drop him in somewhere that goes completely out of the way from what needs to be done objective or kill-wise, the opponents can just ignore him quite well. Just pin him up and ignore him. And once that happens and you're running with 2 other units, then you're in trouble, which is why I ran Mark 7s, because at least they had more versatility, so it helped give that balance. But if I played Buck majorly wrong, put him in places where he's not getting killed or not doing killing or objectives after the one time he dropped there, then we're in trouble. You need to make it so that the opponent kills him by not having other options, or having it that he's in such a way that they have to get rid of him, because even pinning him is not going to stop the problems he will cause to them. And that's why I advise not running Buck as a thought of, this will make me win games easily. You can do that with Chief. And Chief has his own drawbacks where if you're against someone who knows how to beat him and you don't know how to counter that, you'll have trouble. But for the most part, running a Chief list, you can get by quite well with not having a plan or having to make the perfect calls. Running a Buck list, you need to be making those calls right, because the amount he costs in points means he's taking a lot of resources, and if you're not using those resources right, you've lost so much that it will make you struggle in the game. But going out of that, he is such a fun unit to run. Since I heard about the Magic the Gathering styles of the Spike, Johnny and Timmy, Spike being someone who goes very meta-chasey, very safe and easy to win most of the time tournaments, while Timmy goes with the what's fun, what's cool, doesn't worry about the win and such that, goes, this is cool, I want to use it. Johnny is the one where it's a bit of a style thing, where it's not so much as winning, but how you win. And Buck feels like that Johnny-esque, where it's not the safe pick. There are safer lists that can do really well consistently. But is it fun? Yes. Does it give you something to really think about strategy-wise, like the perfect chess moves to just counteract certain things? Yes. It is incredibly fun, incredibly engaging to play, and that's why I really like playing the Bucklist, because it's just so different, so fresh. But overall, incredibly fun unit, incredibly good unit. I highly recommend giving it a go, but get a good general knowledge of the mechanics of the game and how it works before you look at using it as a main list for things like tournaments, because you want that knowledge so you don't end up in a position where it just becomes actually unfun because you get stuck and can't do anything. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video, and if there's anything you disagree with in my thoughts about the unit, or anything you think I missed, please feel free to let me know in the comments. But with that, I've been the Tabletop Fox. I hope you have a lovely day, and ta-ra!